All right, it's been a little while since we talked about our friends over at Google. I think the last video we did, we were kind of going over how they needed to rework how the company did its lineups so that there was little confusion and butting heads between different devices, and you knew which device you were going to buy at which dollar amount and why you were buying it. And Google seems to have listened, at least in part, we think, because they're going to have the entire range of Pixel 9 devices coming out at once, and they're doing it early, and they really want you to know. I mean, look, I get it. It seems a little ridiculous. It seems a little desperate. But at the same time, you had July, which is going to be dominated by Samsung. Just look at the video coverage. We're going to have plenty more of those videos coming up because those devices are important devices, and they're ones that are going to get a lot of coverage. You're going to have all of September be just iPhone, iOS 18, Apple Intelligence, all the rest of it. That's going to be dominated by that. So they wanted to carve themselves out a little piece of August that they can kind of be just pixels. So in terms of getting their marketing team in order, getting some sort of semblance of a coherent plan together, I guess that makes sense. I always thought it was odd, especially when they were still using Snapdragon chips, that they released so late in the year. When they would come out in October, and you look at it, it's like, oh, the Snapdragon 845. And then you look back in Samsung, you see that the S series has been using it since January here in the United States. It kind of looked a little ridiculous. It kind of felt like it was even underpowered or outdated on release. Then a couple months later, you had the next Pixel or next Samsung Galaxy device with the new and improved chip. So it was a little weird. So even back in the day when they had the Note series, Samsung was already moving up the date for the Note release. It used to be the end of August, then it kind of crept towards July, and that's the release window we have for the Folds now. Since the Folds were even, the Fold 2, I think, was in September, something like that, when that device came out. So all of them are kind of shifting earlier. So I think it is a good idea that Google is kind of moving with everybody, even though they use their own Tensor chipsets now. I like that everything's getting Tensor 4 across the board. That's pretty smart. You got the 9 all the way to the 9 Pro Fold getting Tensor 4. That's something. Bit of a varied lineup, okay? You're going to have the Pixel 9, which is going to replace the Pixel 8a. You're going to have a 6.2-inch display, but a Tensor 4. Slower storage. A couple other hindrances there. 8 gigs of RAM, dual camera setup and stuff like that. Smaller form factor. Still looks like a nice device. They're all going to carry that design language, which I think is changed. I know people are saying, "Oh, it just looks like an iPhone with the Google Pixel camera visor on there." But there had to be some refinement to that design that they've been using since the Pixel 6. And I think, look, if they keep to it, if they make small changes to it, if they're well-built devices, people will come around on the design. So don't let that sway you at first. It seems like they're going to kind of even more heavily rely on AI. Gemini's right there. It says, say goodbye, write a breakup letter to your old phone and all the rest of it. That's fine. Word of caution there. We'll get to that later. If you're going to build a phone on AI and heavily integrate AI and make it all about AI, well, then guess what? The phone has to have AI supported for at least a few years for the more exciting features that you've got there. But then you've got the Pixel 9 Pro, faster storage, slightly larger display, 6.3 inches. Still relatively compact for a flagship, though, which I like. I think that's a nice size on a device. You're getting the higher resolution display. You're getting a triple camera setup. Then there's the big boy. There's the Pro XL, going back to the XL naming convention that they've used in the past. 6.7-inch display there. Higher resolution, bigger battery, all the rest of it. That's going to be the big boy for sure. And then you have the 9 Pro Fold, which is taking care of the big problem that I had with the Pixel Fold, which was releasing with the Tensor 2, when Tensor 3 was basically around the corner. Now they're all going to have Tensor 4. They're all going to be updated at the same time. You're going to have a uniform lineup for the first time in a while with all of Google's products. So we're not going to have this problem where I'm going to be writing articles in December saying pick up a Pixel 9 as opposed to a Pixel 9. No, none of that. 9's coming out. You're going to know. So when all these sales hit, they're going to be staggered sales. So you're going to have a sale on the 9. That's going to get then you're going to have a sale on the 9 Pro. Then you're going to have so that way, when Google has these aggressive sales that they throw out during the course of a year, it's not debilitating to another model that they sell on their website. But here's the bigger question for me. They looks like they're doing okay. Looks like they're doing right by the customer. Maybe. We'll see. It's Google. Could change. What's going to get you to trust them again? What's going to get you to shell out more money? You got a Pixel 7. You got a Pixel 8. What's going to get you to shell out an upgrade for a Pixel 9? That consumer satisfaction report isn't an accident. There are plenty of people who own Pixels that, for whatever reason, whether they were some of the people who had the defective devices on the early days of the Pixel 6, whether you have the overheat or you were struggling with some overheating on your Pixel 7, the Pixel 8 Pro I thought was a pretty solid device. I really like that. Make no bones about it. I like the 8A a lot as well. They just put it in a really awkward spot. But, maybe you're angry about that too. You bought this, and now all of a sudden, you're getting kind of kicked to the curb a little bit, you feel. There's a device coming out earlier and all the rest of it. Whatever it happens to be, if you've been scorned by Google previously, but you like the devices overall, what's going to bring you back into the fold? What's going to keep you on the Google side of the fence? And I don't even really think you can say camera anymore. All these cameras are nice. Even the Pixel, the Fold 6, which everybody's jumping up and down about not having flagships. The cameras are pretty nice. All these cameras on, 800 plus devices are nice. So you have to make a decision whether, what kind of color temperature and what kind of color science and all the rest of it you'd like. But I don't think people are just hanging on to Pixels and kind of dealing with the ridiculousness of Google just because of the camera anymore. I don't think it's head and shoulders above like it's 2017. So if you're still using a Pixel, whether it's Material U, whether it is the design, whatever it happens to be, what needs to be there for you to feel comfortable to keep spending money with this company? Because to me, it's a big question. I don't know the answer. Because I don't really, I use all these phones. I use different ones. If there's so many good options out there, sometimes for less money. That used to be a thing too, right? The Pixel 7 Pro was a nice discount to the S20, S23 or S22, whatever it was going up with at the time. So that was something that you had to consider. Like you accepted some things because you were saving money. I don't think that's an excuse anymore. Not with devices like the OnePlus 12 hanging around, which are really good for that money, for that $600-700. So they don't really have that advantage, that leeway anymore. So what is the killer advantage for a Pixel device? What is the reason why you're hanging on to your Google Pixels despite the fact that things really, haven't gone so well the last few years? That's what I want to know, because I got to think about it. Because I got to sit there and be like, you know what? It's not the camera. AI has the potential to be that, and I know a lot of people that don't put a lot of stock in that either. But let me tell you something. There are plenty of functions for Google's flavor of AI. I don't necessarily like Galaxy AI, but I think Google is in a different position with Gemini where they can build a lot of that intelligence into apps. I want AI that is promptless. I want AI that is smart, that knows if I'm in the camera app, these are the AI functionalities that I want. If I'm in the Note app, these are the functionalities that I want working in the background. If I'm in email, these are the functionalities I want working in the background. I think there's a lot to be had there in terms of AI built into apps that users don't have to prompt, that's going to be able to separate Google if it wants to move forward with this kind of heavily AI environment and get us to believe that that's the reason why we buy their phones. But I'll tell you what, if you do that, then a year from now, you can't pull some nonsense and say, well, this feature only works on Tensor 5, Tensor 4, well, upgrade. No, because then we'll be throwing our phones at you. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.